Greetings, my white brothers and sisters. You're tuned in to the Blue Tunic Trumpet. I'm your boy Blue. And I was thinking to myself, I'm new into this YouTube thing, and my entire goal with this channel is to wake up some of our sleeping people. So with that in mind, I figure since I'm kind of a beginner in some of this stuff, and I want to wake up people who would therefore be beginners, this channel might find itself geared towards new people. If you're an old head, you're a veteran of all the white identity movement, you may not find anything satisfying here. But if things sound good and you know new people or people who might be interested, that need to be woken up, maybe you'll point them my way. Also, as a disclaimer for anybody, I use white identity movement to mean everybody who is pro-white. So that means the Amren crowd, the neo-Nazis, the CI people, anybody and anything. The divisions and factions from there, that's everybody else's business. I don't care about that. White identity movement is my catch-all term. Just so there's no confusion, because I know a lot of people have a lot of different terms for it. So I thought I would kind of start this channel off with my own origin story, so to speak. So that way, when new people come in, they kind of have an idea of where I came from, and maybe be like, oh well, that's not too weird, or that's not too different from myself. It's nice to have somebody you can identify with especially when you're stepping into something new. But my origin story actually doesn't start with anything having to do with race. Where I work, outside of some Negroes and some Asiatics here and there, it's almost a good 50-50 split between whites and Hispanics, depending on which department you're at. And as far as it goes, I never had any problems with Hispanics there. And the ones I worked closely with always treated me well. So I had no problems there. But, I was aware of things like Spanish becoming projected to be the new language of the U.S., the demographic changes that were taking place, and all of that. But I sort of thought about it in the context of it being a cultural issue and not a racial one. I didn't understand yet that they are one in the same. You can't separate them from each other, at least not for long. It will pop back up later on, even if it takes 2 or 3 generations to do. It will come back. So it had nothing to do with race that kind of finally got me into the white identity movement. And in order to really explain what it all was, I need to give you a bit of context. In 2014, I had gotten into libertarianism. Now, I know libertarianism has kind of a bad rap here in the white identity movement, but there are a good chunk of us who came from it. And I will give the libertarians this. They do good research, and I learned a lot of stuff from them that when I got into the white identity stuff and I started to learn things here, it wasn't a shocker. The only thing that they never did was they never went to the final step. And the final step was almost always the Jew. If they would have gone the final step, I probably would have been awakened a bit ago, but that wasn't the case. So as I got into libertarianism, I kind of stuck with the thin libertarians. And the thin libertarians were the most hands-off people in the libertarian movement. They wanted the smallest government possible, if any government at all. And they were the ones who were like, look, as long as you're not hurting anybody or damaging their property, you do you. And even though it sounds kind of crazy, and it sounds like these guys might be crazy kind of guys, really they weren't. The thin libertarians actually were the more conservative libertarians who believed that in order to have a free society, you need to have a responsible people. So I kind of hung with them. They were the most interesting people, and I just kind of liked their more conservative mindset. So as we got into 2015, I was still kind of in there. I was starting to feel a bit of dissatisfaction, though. There was an infiltration of thick libertarians who were just commies, socialists, liberals, hippies, and all that crap in disguise, who were slowly trying to change the libertarian movement from the inside. And they were having a bit of success. You know, now you start to see PC terms pop up, and they weren't being mocked. You saw, now you start to see some support for transgenderism, or the idea that there is no truly assigned gender. It's whatever you feel. And it wasn't being mocked like usual. And the thin libertarians, the conservatives, they were just kind of taking it. You know, they were just sort of, they were trying to play an ideological battle, but I don't know. I just was kind of feeling dissatisfied with them kind of rolling over to take it, and the thick libertarians ruining libertarianism from the inside out. So that sort of dissatisfaction came to a head in the gay marriage decision of 2015, the Ogberfeld decision, or whatever that guy's last name was. Something about that decision, it just like emptied me out. I can't explain it. What I felt when that decision came through that day, I was just like emptied of everything. I can't explain how I felt. And it just, I kind of started, after that, almost immediately, I started to wander away from libertarianism. Something inside me was like, something's not right. You know, something's not, I needed something to satisfy me. I needed something to fill the void that had formed. And so I kind of started looking towards Christian websites, Catholic websites, just trying to find something to satisfy that void. I thought maybe I'd find it there. I didn't necessarily, because for anybody who's dissatisfied with Christianity, you'll know that a lot of these mainstream churches and stuff like that are very, you know, even the ones who try and be fire and brimstone are still too lovey-dovey, love everybody, yada, yada, yada. It kind of makes you sick. You know, they don't really have much of a backbone. They kind of take the idea of letting your enemy walk all over you to an extreme, to a crazy extreme. Even when they try and defend themselves, their enemies are walking all over them still, and they take it. I wasn't satisfied with that, but it was going. And in my wanderings, I came across a website called the Council of Conservative Citizens. Now, the old heads would know what that website is. You new people might not get the benefit of discovering that website, because I've tried to look it up. I've tried to go back and visit it, but I keep getting like domain name taken down and stuff like that, so I think the website is gone. But it was from there, and I started looking at some articles in there, and I started looking at, they had some articles dealing with conservative issues like homosexuality and whatnot, but they also had articles dealing with race. And I started reading a lot of these articles, and I guess the rest is history from there. It just drew me in. And so I jumped to American Renaissance, and I stuck around there for a little bit, and then I jumped into like the Daily Stormer, which is more kind of like the neo-Nazis thing. I'm not into socialism or national socialism. It's all the same thing to me. So, you know, I look at their stories because they're pro-white, but I'm not really in agreement with their political viewpoints. And then from there, I finally got into what is called Christian Identity, Dual Seed Line, or also Anglo-Israel Message, Anglo-Israel Identity. I tend to use that because Christian Identity, if you look that up, you'll also see like the Black Hebrew Israelites, which is a joke. And also some other stuff that says, also some other groups that are like everybody but white people are Israelites, yada, yada, yada. Even though biblically speaking and historically speaking, that's a joke. And it's actually like what I consider to be a real Christianity. Now, of course, for people who are practicing Christian identists or Anglo-Israel messengers, it is their true Christianity. And I follow along with it. I can't sit here and say I'm any kind of pious person, but it is very fascinating. And it's probably the only thing that's gotten me interested in Christianity. The only thing that's actually made me research the Bible and the history of it deeper than I ever have before. I'm not gonna, I'm not trying to sit here and act as a salesman for it, but if you're interested and you're a researcher type, you might find it very fascinating. And I'll probably touch upon that in a separate video. This is just, a short intro for myself. But yeah, that's kind of my origin story. It wasn't race, so to speak, that got me into white identity. It was the decision for gay marriage. I don't know if that makes me an oddball in the movement, but it is what it is. Other people might have come through here through that too, looking for something, conservative-minded people who are dissatisfied with the kind of pushover conservatives that we know today, the pushover Christians that we know today, and all that stuff. So maybe I'm not alone in that. So it's been about 12 minutes of me rambling on about myself. But as I get into this and I kind of introduce myself here into the white identity movement, I just wanted to let people know where I came from. Maybe there's some similar stories out there. I have some videos upcoming. They're not going to be research oriented. I have a few videos that I think I'm going to make sort of introductory videos. Again, geared more towards the new people. But until those next videos, you've been listening to your boy Blue here on the Blue Tunic Trumpet. And until the next time, can you hear the call?